You are part of our long-term plan. God.
You're a home buyer, somebody or a young person looking to buy a home, you need a bit of a reset.
There is a possibility on the other side of this that inflation could actually be quite low.
Guilty of conspiracy. Massive changes are unfolding right now as it pertains to realtor and agent commissions. Now, the interesting thing is everything that we've found out so far is just the tip of the iceberg. There is an overwhelming amount of additional lawsuits that total approximately $400 billion. NAR, the National Association of Realtors, is fixing to file bankruptcy, and the question is this the end of agents as we know it? Welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. Today's video is gonna be absolutely bonkers. Now, the data is in, and today we're gonna go over a plethora of information to get caught up on exactly what's happening with all of these conspiracy charges that are happening with the National Association of Realtors and the nation's top brokerages. And I'm also gonna show you guys that the Department of Justice is also getting involved, and there's going to be massive structural changes. But in this video, we're gonna talk about what has already happened and what's gonna happen in the future now that that case has paved the way for additional lawsuits. Then we're gonna listen to Glenn Kelman talk about his feelings on exactly what's going on with the commission lawsuit, and then we'll end this video talking about the effects that this will have, in my opinion, as it pertains to both buyers and sellers. And then I'll end on what I believe that the National Association can do, if anything, to save their reputation. I wanna hear from you on what your feelings are as it pertains to agent commissions. Should we have no commission? Should it be cut in half? Should it be a flat fee? Either way, you guys, I definitely want to hear from you. We're going to start with a CoStar article that really goes into what happened and what's going to happen in the future. Because remember, guys, additional lawsuits were filed, and they're way bigger than that tiny little lawsuit that Missouri home sellers just won. Now, the name of this article is After Losing High-Profile Verdict, Realtors Group Hit with Larger Lawsuit on Agent Commission. So there's a new case facing the National Association of Realtors that covers the entire country. The lawsuit that they lost was only for Missouri. And again, you guys, that's paved the way for other states. Basically, everyone out of the woodwork is going to start suing the National Association of Realtors for the conspiracy that's been going on for decades. And this is exactly what I've been telling you guys. It shouldn't be shocking because we've been talking about this for the last year and a half, and it's about time something has finally been done. A jury in a federal courtroom in Kansas City reached a nearly $1.8 billion verdict Tuesday against the National Association of Realtors and Keller Williams and Home Services of America over the practice of home sellers paying commissions to buyers and sellers, brokers in the process, that Missouri home sellers argued is anti-competitive and artificially drives up home costs. We put too much weight of responsibility on consumers that, quite frankly, don't know anything, and the agents know they don't know anything, and they take advantage of it. So I like this so far. Pending appeals that Home Services said it will pursue. Keller Williams is also considering it. Now, those damages are tripled, guys, to almost $5.4 billion because of the antitrust nature of the suit. The suit has been closely watched because of its potential to affect the national home market and the broader economy. So again, you guys, because they lost that antitrust lawsuit, their fines are now tripled. Now, this is crazy. Immediately after the verdict was reached in the U.S. District Court for the Western District of Missouri, plaintiff's attorney Ketchman filed a new lawsuit that he said would result in hundreds of billions of damages to cover his client's view as artificially inflated commission payments. Holy smokes. It is a national class action lawsuit. Again, the one that they lost was just a little baby one, even though it was $5 billion. And by the way, they don't have that money. So they don't even have the $5 billion. In comparison to this national class action, y'all, that's the little baby lawsuit that they just lost. This national one is way, way bigger and more damaging. This is insane. What I would tell the defendants is the day of accountability is here. Ketchman estimated that homeowners pay, you guys ready for this? $50 billion more than necessary each year to sell homes. Bingo, right? Bingo. You guys hear me talk about this all the time. These realtors are getting paid more than doctors, than dentists, than veterinarians. I mean, they are crushing it and they're doing very little work. Mostly what they're doing is getting drunk at night, waking up early, having a bad attitude, and somehow finding clients. It's crazy. We'll go in a little bit more into the details of the new legal action. Defendants named in the subsequent case filed by the new group of home sellers are the NAR, Compass, EXP World Holdings, that's crazy, Redfin, Witchert, United Real Estate, Howard Hanna Real Estate, Douglas and Douglas Elliman. No Keller Williams or Remax. Very interesting. For the NAR, it complicates what already is expected to be a years-long effort to appeal the initial verdict and defend itself in upcoming cases, including one expected to go to trial next year in another federal courtroom. So there's already another lawsuit that's been filed. That one's for $40 billion. So to recap here, they've just lost the $5 billion. There's already a $40 billion, and now there's a national one that can lead to hundreds of billions of dollars in cost. Now, before the end of this video, I'm going to show you how much money NAR has. And I'm going to show you guys they can't even come close to paying what they owe. A recent report by Woods research analysts heading into the Missouri trial estimated that an expansion of lawsuits throughout the country could up the potential damages against the NAR and other defendants to more than $400 billion. They don't have anywhere close to that amount of money. The NAR and Home Services said they plan to appeal Tuesday's verdict, and Keller Williams is considering it. Home sellers in the cases argued that practices by the NAR and its members are anti-competitive because they require, and here's the issue, all homes to be listed on member-controlled multiple listing services, and they require broker commissions disclosed ahead of a home going on the market for sale, with few realistic options available for sellers to reduce commission payouts below the approximate 6% commission. So you guys remember me saying it's always been 6%, and I see comments like, no, it's not 6%, it's always negotiable. Yeah, right. It's a joke. It's supposed to be negotiable, but it always seems to be the exact same, 6%, maybe 5%, sometimes maybe 4%. These videos that I do about realtor commissions, I get more hate from these videos than any other videos. And to me, that is a sign that things absolutely need to change in our industry. Good agents that hear what I'm saying will say, let me prove myself to you. Let me use the data to show you how to find a great deal. Let me provide you value. It's the insecure realtors that we see in the comment sections getting offended that are the reason why lawsuits like this need to even exist. They don't give value. They manipulate people's emotions. Not all, but there is a large percentage of realtors that are only making things worse for people, not better. In fact, AI, okay, and I hate to say this, but overall, AI can completely revamp the entire industry. Now, I don't think AI can beat the great agents, but you guys, it's the end of the realtors as we know them. That's a fact. And we'll see this whole thing play out probably for the next 3-4 years. Here's a comment from NAR. The NAR vowed in a statement to CoStar News to appeal soon after the verdict was announced. Later, the Chicago-based organization commented on the new class action lawsuit. We are currently reviewing the new filing, and it appears to be a copycat lawsuit. We continue to assert that the practice of listing brokers making offers of compensation to buyers' brokers is best for consumers. It gives the greatest number of buyers a chance to afford a home and professional representation, while also giving sellers access to the greatest number of buyers. I'm sorry, but I just don't agree with that. And towards the end of this video, I'll tell you what I believe that NAR can possibly do to save their reputation. But think about how much money they're losing. Even if they appeal, they got to fight it through court. They got to do all this stuff. They are losing. So again, what do we have on plate so far? So we got a $5 billion lawsuit, okay? We got a $40 billion lawsuit that was filed, and we have this new lawsuit that can equal $200 billion. So if the National Association of Realtors is not going to go bankrupt, then they have to have the ability to pay this money back, right? So let's see how many billions of dollars that the National Association of Realtors has. Granted, this data is from 2021, but in 2021, we had an amazing year in real estate, but you guys can see right here, total assets, $1 billion. You guys, they don't have anywhere close to enough money to be able to afford to pay out just one lawsuit. They don't have that money. So if they don't have that money, then they will have no choice but to file bankruptcy. They've lost. This is the end of Realtors. This is the end of co-op 6%. It's over. And we'll talk about what effects that's going to have on buyers and realtors. But first, we're going to listen to Redfin CEO Glenn Kilman give his opinion on what just happened.
Our traffic has been growing, even on an absolute basis in a down market with CoStar spending so much money. We are still growing. And we think it's because we've just built a better mousetrap.
Did y'all catch that? They're bragging about this is not my words, the mousetrap. Like who, with the level of unaffordability and consumer sentiment plummeting and the unaffordability crisis, who uses the word mousetrap to describe their operation? I mean, honestly, I think it's extremely accurate. Actually, I'm proud of him for describing their operation as a mousetrap. I'm a little surprised. Let's jump back in.
We're fairly committed to it, but we still have to make sure it works. So Redfin Max is this idea that we're going to stop paying agents a salary and instead give them a higher split, especially for their self-sourced deals. And it was driven just by the departure of some of our best agents, some of my good friends who had built a book of business at Redfin and then felt like suckers for staying here. And I've never wanted to make anyone a sucker.
Then stop manipulating the trajectory of your graphs. Glenn, hit me up, man. I would love to talk to you. I'd love to tell you how we can improve together. I would love to do that. So reach out to me, because the fact of the matter is you are making people look like a fool, especially me when I'm using your data and then I find out that the trajectory is all messed up. But I played that segment to let you guys know there are people flooding out of the industry. Realtors are leaving in mass exodus right now, and it's happening even at Redfin. Let's go on.
But what's your sense of the outcome of the lawsuits in terms of changing the industry, hopefully for the good?
Well, first, I just want to challenge in one small way the premise of the question. I know that we're offering splits, but I think alone among brokerages, Redfin exists to give consumers a better deal. There's no one else charging a lower fee across all of our agents for every one of our customers. Alone among brokers, we employ our agents because we want to hold them to a high service standard. I'm not saying that that's the best way for everyone to practice real estate, but I am saying it is very different from the way everyone else approaches real estate. And so we still think this is quite consistent with our mission. We're just enlisting a broader range of agents than ever before to pursue that mission. Everybody who wants to put customers first should work for Redfin. So having said that, the lawsuits, they haven't gone the realtor's way mostly. I think it will resolve to a financial settlement. But if you look at what Anywhere and the other defendants have settled on, it's mostly training and things like that. So I don't think the lawsuits themselves are going to lead to the structural change that many brokers have been worried about. But the DOJ is fired up on this subject. I think they will look at the outcome of the lawsuits and then decide whether they want to get more aggressive. And every indication so far has been that they will.
Before we go into the DOJ and the Department of Justice, I heard something underlining that he was saying. Essentially, what this shows me is Redfin is gearing up to cut their commissions. That's what it sounds like to me. I mean, they're already bragging like when you go with Redfin, you normally pay less realtor commission. So what I'm hearing here is Redfin is going to be the leaders when it comes to dropping real estate commission. I'm thinking they're probably going to either drop it to 4 or even 3% total, from 6 to 4 to 3%, depending on the metro area. So that's what I got there. But let's go into the Department of Justice, because you guys, I'm telling you right now, this is a very, very big deal. The things that I've been warning you about are now coming to light. It's undisputable. Listen to what Glenn has to say about the Department of Justice.
Questions coming out of the DOJ indicate to us that they're going to watch the trial. If they don't see the structural change come from that trial, then I think they would become more aggressive. And a lot of that depends on the election. This all started when Biden beat Trump. Trump is an old real estate guy. And so the DOJ under Trump was one step less aggressive than it has been under Biden. Both administrations had a DOJ pursuing this, but under Biden, it was more aggressive. And so our guess is that cooperation is going to continue to come under pressure. And what we've seen is that in the shadow of the courthouse, brokers are starting to make their bets that cooperation might not work. They're withholding listings from the MLS in places like Cleveland. There's more dual agency in places like California. Everyone is looking ahead to a world where the buyer may have to pay the buyer's agent, and many buyers choose not to do that, just as they do in new construction.
So withholding listings from MLS, did you hear what he's saying? I mean, the Department of Justice needs to get involved, because when you have everyone's cousin handling hundreds of billions of dollars in transactions, it's not going to work out well. And we see that right now, finally. Now, let's talk about the immediate impact of this lawsuit as it pertains to both sellers, buyers, and we'll talk about what NAR could possibly do. Now, unfortunately, what I feel is going to happen is at first, until there's a contingency plan, maybe the DOJ gets involved and there's restructuring. Initially, this is going to be and probably make the industry even worse, because what's going to happen is even though the intent is to curb the financial bias and the conspiracy, what's going to happen at first is desperation and confusion, and it's actually going to make those things initially worse. There's going to be even more financial bias. There's going to be even more steering that is going on in the market, again, because we need a plan in place so that the agents know what to do. So there's going to be some problems at first here. And honestly, guys, I think this is going to get worse. But let's talk about what impact this is going to have on buyers. Now, overall, my opinion is this isn't good for buyers. So at first, I'm going to say, when it comes to the buyers, this is not good, because most buyers are purchasing real estate overextended. Most buyers are maxing out their debt to income ratio and getting all the money that they have as a down payment and closing. So this is going to make things more difficult for them, because they don't have another 2-3% normally to pay an agent. So that's the whole premise here, because buyers don't have generally the extra money, so the seller covers it from their proceeds. But again, that is going to change. What I believe is going to happen, if you are buying real estate, you're going to need to be extra careful, extra cautious when it comes to something called a buyer's rep agreement, which blows my mind that it even exists. As a loan officer, you can't have anything like that. But a buyer's rep agreement basically tells the buyer, this is how you're paying the commission. And like 90% of the time, it says the seller pays commission. But what you're going to start saying is more agents try to get buyers to sign this buyer's rep agreement that states if the seller's not willing to pay this 3% or 2% or whatever they agree on commission, that you're responsible for it. So when you're reviewing those buyer's reps, again, read them extra careful and think about it from the agent's perspective. Why would an agent do that? Well, imagine an agent that has been working with a buyer for, say, 3 months, and they've showed them 50 houses and they can't find the house. Then all of a sudden a new listing pops up. The client is in love with it, but the agent finds out that there is no buyer's commission. So what that means is that agent for the last 3 months made no money and in fact lost money. So it's going to create a panic. It's going to create a problem. Now, as it pertains to sellers, this is actually a great thing for sellers, because now the first thing is by the way, it's always been negotiable. By the way, commission's always been negotiable. But now that the nation is aware of this and the Department of Justice is getting involved, I think it's going to embolden more and more people to negotiate the realtor commission. So again, as far as the sellers, I think this is a win-win-win situation for sellers, because more than likely it's going to get a lot more affordable per se just to sell your house, and we need the inventory from existing homes. So again, this is not necessarily a bad thing from the way I can see it for sellers. What will happen is because this is giving more power to sellers, say all the other sellers are like, we're only going to give the buyer 1% commission. Now, if a seller really wants to gain traffic, all they have to do now is offer 4 or 5% buyer's commission. If generally in the market it goes down to say 2 or 1%, and this buyer over here has a 4%, then more buyers agents are going to be prone to show their client to that house. Now, how is that not financially biased? This is also huge news for builders, because right now, you guys, builders are controlling the market. Builders have insane, ridiculous abilities to offer crazy incentives. And I've showed you some listings where the builders are actually offering 5%. So this is also, in my opinion, another win for the builders, because it gives them more ability to just corner the market, right? Builders can now do things that sellers cannot. So overall, you guys, there's going to be an overwhelming amount of changes that happen. And I personally think it's good. Now, if you're a realtor, whether you're a new realtor or you've been doing this a long time, hang in there, right? Especially if you're a good realtor, hang in there and just do what I've been saying this whole time. Use the data to help people, show people how to find great deals. Don't get stuck in the cheerleading. Now it's time to prove your value. And I hope we start seeing a lot more of that because quite frankly, you guys, overall, we now have proof to what I've been saying this whole time. Overall, realtors are at least partially responsible for the buyer's remorse and the massive equity run-up. At least that's in my opinion. Now, I know there's great realtors. Please don't knock me. I get so much hate from doing these types of videos, but do me a favor, guys. I really want to know how you feel about that, especially if you're an agent. If you're an agent, let me know how you think this is going to affect sellers, and let me know how you think it's going to affect buyers. And even if you're not an agent, I need to know what you guys are feeling. And other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, you know I wish you luck because we will need it. And I hope you win.
God.